morning, bots and bits fans. Today I'm going to be showing you the new KO Masterpiece Shockwave here on the left and comparing it with Takara on the right. Now, I did say new KO. This one came out about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it comes from the same people who recently KO'd Soundwave and added all those crazy ratchets to it. Now, what about the KO that come out almost a year ago exactly, I hear you ask? Well, that wasn't a true KO in the sense of the word. I'm led to believe that one was more what people would call a factory stock, a lunchtime special, or the night shift, where, you know, the factory closes at 5, a whole bunch of them come back at 6, the factory owner prints off and assembles a whole bunch of stock and ships them off cheaply. Or just rejects in general with minor flaws. You might remember the Masterpiece hot rods that were shipping out loose with clear windows. Obviously something went wrong and the windows were all clear for some reason, and they shipped them out and they were labeling them as factory stock and KO and etc, etc. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble a bit. I'm just I'm so tired. Alright, let's do this. Alright, so we'll take a good look at the differences in the boxes first. Now, side by side, they look very different, but if you're only holding the one, it can be difficult to tell whether it's a KO or not, especially from the front picture. They look almost identical. There are a few small differences. One of the most noticeable differences is, see on the Takara here, his gun doesn't quite get to the edge of the box, whereas on the KO, let me just zoom right in, it actually goes around the edge of the box a little bit. See, like that? And it's the same with the picture of him in gun mode. If I pan down, see how the barrel of the gun comes right to the edge of the box. If we look on the Takara, there is a black border. Another difference is, on the KO, if we look around his head, I'm not sure if you can see that very well or not, he's got a bit of a black border going around his ears. See this black border around the back of the ears here and around there. Where else is it? It's also here on this top fin. See the black border? Right. On the Takara, there is no black border. The bottom of the boxes are identical with one exception, and I find this with most of the KOs. The Takara batch number is stamped in, right? So it indents the cardboard, whereas the KOs are cut in somehow. So the batch number is here, and you can barely see it, and it hasn't altered the surrounding cardboard. So that's a real easy way to tell. On the back, it gets much easier to tell the difference. The KO is missing the Decepticon logo, see? And just for the sake of completion, these photos are also much darker and much more black. Alright, so let's cover some of the accessories first. We have Takara on the right, KO on the left, and we'll look at the mini blaster first. All of the KO stuff is a lighter shade of purple than Takara. Hang on, focus, there we go. So some of the differences, apart from the colour, the grey paint looks exactly the same, and it's done to a similar standard, but the KO is a little bit messy on that side compared to Takara. The other difference is, the Takara has a pink string there, whereas the KO has a purple string. Purple string, pink string. And that's pretty much it for the guns. We'll go on to the clear fists. Now, a difference with the KO over Takara is Takara used ball sockets, so you get a little bit more range out of the hands. These hands aren't very good, but you do get a little bit more range out of it, and those fingers are stiff. Now the KO has a mushroom peg, see? So it's only around, you don't get the up and down, nothing like that. They're just as stiff, and I think the purple is a slightly different color. Yeah, the KO is a little bit more transparent than the Takara. The Takara sort of has like a purple smoke. See that? Sort of like a haze through it, which is a cool looking effect, whereas the KO is much more clear. Anyway, sprue marks on the KO are a little bit anyway. The salute hands, again, mushroom peg, so you can't do a wave, you can't really do anything with the KO except salute. No limp wrist, nothing. Bit rough on the edge, but overall pretty much the same. Same slight color differences. What else we got? These ones, these saluting hands. Again, mushroom peg, which is really unsightly. It sticks out, and the mushroom peg is like attached differently. It's not part of the plastic. See that? It's like screwed on or something. I'm not really sure. That looks like it would come off. And when you compare it to the Takara, that's much better. It's a little bit of a rubbish gimmick, but they did the rubbish gimmick better on the Takara. Now we've just got these extra hands. The Takara one cleans up much nicer. They're both just as stiff. Well, actually that that didn't want to open at all, and neither did that one. So they're both about the same. This one, the KO, has sprue marks all over it and stress marks inside from that pin. It looks like they've molded the top of the stem of the mushroom peg is molded plastic with this, and then they've put the pin through it and attached the mushroom head to that pin. So I think a ball socket would have been better. They probably could have cast a ball socket, to be honest. They could have cast that, actually. I don't know why they changed it. It wasn't a good idea. And then finally, these nozzles. If it wants to focus, there we go. Now they look about the same. The color looks almost identical. The Takara one actually has a nasty sprue mark right there compared to the KO. Now the KO is a little bit softer and more milky, but yep, nothing really to say about them. And then the last of the hand attachments are the clear nozzle. Now the KO over here has a much more richer purple color, but it is covered in sprue marks, and that mold line down the side is really noticeable compared with the Takara, where it's been cut much neater, and you can see no sprue marks at all. I don't think. One underneath, two underneath, where compared to see, look, the KO is just a lot more messier. As you can see, they both do a pretty good job of lighting up. Hang on, go to Takara, there we go. Not sure what's going on with the Takara LED. It must have a very different refresh rate or something. My camera lens isn't really liking it, but the KO LED is much smoother to the eye anyway. Oh, wasn't that working? Come on. Work, Takara. Come on, Takara, work. Nah, it's given up. Well, that's a bit concerning. I can't get the Takara one to turn back on. I'm probably going to have to try and sort that out, because I'm borrowing this off someone, so hopefully I haven't it. Alright, let's keep going. The last accessory in the box is the backpack / gun stand. Yeah, they're both done. Alright. Takara one opens up just fine. No dramas. The KO one. There we go. Not floppy, nothing. Not seeing any nasty sprue marks, not seeing any errors, so yeah, it looks fine. Alright, so on to Shockwave himself, and straight away there are two things that you could notice about the KO. One, he's a lighter shade of purple. Two, he looks a little bit taller than the Takara, and I can't figure out where that extra height has come from. I thought maybe the legs, but if I go toe to hip flap, just want to go just under the hip flap there, and line it up. Can you see that? It is about the 13 centimeter mark. Now if I do the same on the Takara, hip flap to tight, oh, come back, stay in there. See, it is about the 13 centimeter mark as well. So the legs are the same. At the shoulder, there is like a millimeter or two difference. And I think that comes from this hip swivel gimmick, because when you pull it out, hang on, out you come. You get it out to get the hip swivel, it is really, really high up. There's a big gap there. When you compare it to the Takara, when you pull it out, there is hardly any gap in the Takara here compared to the KO. So I think the mechanism inside is actually much bigger and is giving the torso a bit of lift. Now this head on the Takara, I can never get this to stay up. I know you're meant to pull on the head to get it up, but I've accidentally pulled the head off once, and I didn't really want to do any damage to this because this one isn't mine. So I'm just going to have to leave it like that. This one clips in really, really easily. See? Really easy. Another difference is the chest piece on the Takara is a painted silver. It looks chrome, but it's got more of a silver pigment to it, and this plastic has a bit of smoked purple into it. On the KO, however, the silver in the back is just super shiny chrome. Let's get a good look. Super shiny chrome, and the clear plastic isn't smoked at all. There's no purple in that plastic compared to the Takara, see? Smoke purple, silver chrome. No smoke purple, shiny chrome. Now there isn't too much paint on this guy, and what they've done has been hit and miss. The paint on the die-cast feet here is done really well. That is solid. I would have expected that to have started chipping already, but it hasn't. That's done well. And then there's the paint on the shins, which they're both done reasonably well. The Takara is a much darker, more purple, and the KO has a bit of a cream to it, but they're both applied well. But the paint on the face hasn't been done that well. The white paint on the ear bits has chipped a little bit. Hang on, let's just get up close, shall we? I don't know if you can see it. There's a little bit of chipping just up here. That was straight out of the box. Let's just come up a bit. Much better. I don't know if you noticed, but the black area around his eye is actually painted dark purple, and they've spilt a whole heap of paint up the side of the head here. Can you see? I've got all these little strokes and misses and stuff, and somehow, I don't know how, there is a big red dot right there. Can you see it? Let me just bring it a bit closer, see if this will come up. See the red dot? Why the hell is there a red dot? Where would they be using red paint on this? Somehow they've put red paint on the inside of his head. I don't know how, but they've done it. And now that I've been spinning him around a little bit, you've probably noticed the spring on the KO is garbage. It is a piece of shit. It is just a silver spring that they've painted, and as soon as you touch it, you will get paint flakes all over you. Look. See? See that? Hang on. Paint flakes straight away. Everywhere. It just peels off. Look. Heaps of it. So the paint is rubbish, whereas the Takara spring is more of a tinted metal. It looks like it's not painted. It looks like the metal itself is actually that color. So that honestly is a big disappointment, because it's a large part of Shockwave's character, and it just looks an absolute mess. I would have preferred that they just used a black spring, or just even a silver spring, instead of this rubbish paint. So very disappointing in that regard. Alright, onto the joints and articulation. So the ratchet out, gets all the way, is reasonably strong. Hey, turn off. The ratchet forward feels a little bit softer, but holds well enough. This elbow is a little bit of a soft ratchet. See? Doesn't flop, but it goes down. This one here, this is a little bit softer, and then all the way out is pretty strong. Get him up. So the elbow on this side is just as strong. Wrist swivel is loose. It's not flopping around. It doesn't really spin too much further when I stop, but it's loose. It's a crappy mushroom peg. Now, upper thigh swivel is not the tightest. It is not the tightest, I will say. It is better than the Takara. Look at that. That's loose as. So it's better than Takara, but it could be even better. At least it's consistent on both sides. And then we've got ratchet all the way out on both sides, obviously. So let's just, both legs out. Didn't take much for them to fall compared to the Takara. Let's see what that does. Yeah, the Takara ratchets forward are much better than the KO, that's for sure. And you can hear there's more clicks in that. Fuck it. There's more clicks. And much louder clicks. Alright, so outwards, let's just get these arms out of the way. Outwards, we have that ratchet, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out. And that holds reasonably well. One of them obviously is a bit softer than the other, but it does an alright job compared to Takara, which has the friction joints all the way out, which don't hold well at all. Now the knees are hindered by the pistol area there, but they hold pretty strong. I'll just hold the legs and flick the knees. They're not going anywhere. The legs did, the knees didn't. And of course we have the feet ratchets. Now these are a problem because they don't line up. Look at that, they don't line up with the leg that's the center neutral click. So he's always leaning forward a little bit, or you go one back, and he's leaning back a lot. Or the extra one forward. Hang on, I skipped one. Yeah, I'm not getting 3 out of it. I'm only getting the 2 clicks. Get back together. Yes, at the moment, I'm only getting 2 ratchet clicks, forward and back. There is a third one somewhere. Where are we? Oh, there we go. Which is all the way back. So you really want to be using the forward-most toe click. Compared to the Takara, which is completely flush with the leg, and then you get your one forward and your one back. Now that is a much easier ratchet to move, and it still feels really solid. Whereas this foot ratchet, it really does not want to move or click very well. But what are you going to do? We do have the rocker, which is super stiff. That is really stiff on both sides. And while we're looking at feet, I will just point out that the transformation hinge in the shins on the Takara and the KO are different. Just have a quick look. See? It's like smaller and rounded, a few sprue marks, compared to Takara, which is much more flush and a different shade of purple. So transformation hasn't been changed one bit, so I'm not going to cover it when going into gun mode. Right, so there they both are in gun mode. Now transforming the KO, I did not have any dramas at all. There was nothing. It all tabbed in well, it all holds together well, with one exception, and that is the target bit on the back here. See this? That doesn't, it's not tabbing in, it's just sitting there. So that's a little bit annoying. And I do have one big problem with the gun mode. Let's just get Takara out of the way for now. And that is, remember how I said he had a little bit of an extended waist that made him a bit taller? Well, in gun mode, that extended waist means that he's got a lot of wobble in the middle of the gun. So that is not ideal at all. Not impressed by that. But everything else goes together well. The LEDs work fine. The trigger in there, so focus. There we go. And the switch does change it, I believe. Yeah, there we go. And now it's pulsing. So that all works fine. Now something I noticed was the Takara that I have here. When you pull the trigger, you can hear the electronics making a hissing noise. Listen. Can you hear that? Hang on, let's just back out a bit. Go up to my microphone. Well, there we go. I'm up at the microphone and listen. Can you hear that hissing noise? The KO doesn't have that problem. Let's just go up to my microphone again. Now let's just put it on single. Not a single noise, so maybe it's worth taking the electronics out of this and chucking them in the Takara. Gun mode is a bit of a letdown with that waist wobble. That spring is that's just awful, and that bit doesn't tab in. I'm not too impressed by this, and it's not just mine. I've been reading on TFW 2005. It's not all of them that have this waist thing, but it is a common complaint. So keep that in mind. So final thoughts wise, is it worth it and should you buy it? It's a hard one to recommend because that spring, that's awful. The paint coming off of it, you can't see past it. It's in your face. Yeah, that's a big fault for me. And in gun mode, that hip wobble, which makes the whole gun wobble, that's another big fault for me. Paint errors here and there and a couple of quirks I could live with, like the paint on the face and the ears. And that sort of thing. Not such a big deal for me because the cost is so low. You sort of expect little imperfections like that, not big imperfections. And speaking of cost, this guy is super cheap. Goes for about the 70 to 80 Australian dollar mark, which is pretty damn cheap. Even cheaper if you go the Teobao route. So that might mean that this is an affordable way for you to display your shockwaves like this in bot and gun mode. Personally, myself, I don't like it. I don't like the errors with it, and Generally, I don't like the figure to begin with. I prefer the Cloud9 version of this. And I've also got the Fans Toys. Was it Fans Toys? Yeah, I think it was Fans Toys. And that's better in my opinion as well. So I already don't like the figure, but I really don't like it now because of the faults. If you can live with those faults, or you want to do something like this, go for it. It is cheap. He stands up fine, he poses fine, he transforms and holds together fine. So I wouldn't be worried about any of that. Just realize that this spring is, I'm pretty sure, all of them. So you're gonna get that straight out the box, and the waist wobble is a common occurrence. And that's all there is to really say about that. Now, if you have any comments, questions, love or corrections, please leave them below. If you've got one of these and you love it or you hate it, or if you've had some different experiences with it, please leave them below. I'd love to have a read and see what else is happening with this product. If you're enjoying my videos and like what I'm doing, then please like this video and also subscribe to my channel. Remember to check out my Facebook for daily news and updates on KO and third-party stuff. I'll have a comparison gallery of this guy up any moment now, so head over there and check that out. And as always, thank you very much for your time, and thanks for watching, guys.